Part 9. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 81. Why? Too lazy to do it? Nangxiang yawned. I'm angry, she. It's useless for you to be angry, Ms. Yamada. It's Ryo. Okay, Ms. Yamada. Yamada Ryo didn't say anything, but while looking at Nangxiang, he stretched out his little tongue expressionlessly and licked the remaining meat juice at the bottom of his bowl. Sigh. Besides Miss Yamada, who else among you wants to eat? Is it a mile? Feeling Miss Yamada's gaze, Nangxiang finally shook his head helplessly, put down the book, stood up, and spoke directly. Then, he saw all the white palms raised in unison. It must be so. Nangxiang shook his head and walked back from the stars on the basement floor to the kitchen on the first floor, leaving only the words, "I'll wait for you all to get fat." Seeing him leaving, Ryo Yamada turned back to Ichi Hoshige and said, "Manager, I have a suggestion." What? Itakazinge was still looking forward to the food that Nangxiang would serve next, and turned around after hearing these words. I think we can recruit Chi to be the chef at Stars. As soon as Ryo Yamada said these words, not only Goto Ichiri's ears perked up, but also Ichiki Hikaru, Kita Ikuyo, and Miss Pa on the other side raised their heads silently. Then, cannot be done. Why? Now it wasn't just Yamada who felt cold, all the girls present sounded such dissatisfied notes. You guys, you really have your stomach tied up by that guy. Yiji Zinga looked at the people present and couldn't help but shake his head. It's only been a few days since you came to Nangxiang, Fangxing. This group of people no longer took him as the store manager seriously. But, even she had to admit it. The meals prepared in Nangxiang always have a lingering aftertaste and a feeling of immersion in happiness. You can say that. I ate something made in Nangxiang. If Yiji Zinga was asked to spend money to eat outside, she would feel that the food was tasteless. Thinking of this, Yiji Zinga continued to speak. It's not that I don't want to, but I talked about it with him, but he temporarily rejected it. Refused. When he said this, everyone present was a little surprised. They had already heard from Ryo Yamada about the family situation in Nangxiang, and it didn't seem optimistic. If that's the case, why turn down the job that comes to you? Well, it seems that there are other things to deal with recently. After solving the things over there, we can consider the things here. Recalling the details Nangxiang said, Yiji Zinge spoke. So this is It was probably an urgent matter that needed to be dealt with. Everyone present looked understanding and wisely did not mention the matter again. But speaking of it, Nangxiang-san is really good at everything. Yiji Zinga lay lazily on the table, detailing what happened after meeting Nangxiang. Number 1 in the National Deviation Value Simulation Test. I can also learn the guitar in no time. And I think I can arrange music, right? That song "I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness" is really nice. Yeah. It sounds really good. Yamada Ryoya, who had an idea for the song, said thoughtfully, and it sounds very suitable for our style, but it is much more mature than my style of music. Even Yamada Ryo, who has always regarded himself as a genius, couldn't help but sigh a little at this time. The song "I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness" will probably not be a big problem if it is made into a small CD and sold outside. Speaking of which, I heard from Miss PA it seems that Senior Nangxiang has asked Miss Pa to help edit the video of the outdoor performance and prepare to upload it to the internet. Kita Ikuyo also intervened in the conversation at this time. That's what you're talking about. Well, even though it was shot with a mobile phone, vertical short videos are also very popular nowadays, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Miss Pa still showed her usual gentle smile. I haven't given him the edited video yet, but he told me specifically. It seems that he wants to become famous on the internet through the video of the outdoor performance and make money. Then Miss Pa paused. And brother Nangxiang also said that if you don't mind, you can actually use the song I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness. For this reason, he even specially copied the lyrics and wanted me to pass them on to you. Why? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present exploded. Especially the members of the closing band were all in disbelief. Such a high-level piece of music was given to them like this in Nangxiang? It doesn't take an expert to listen to it, even a layman can probably hear the gold content of the song I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness. The first half is a perfect blend of suppressed pain and despair, and the second half of the song is a hearty release of pressure. There is a sentence that is very appropriate to describe I don't want to die alone. This is a song that makes it easy to cry. This is what any good song needs, and it's called empathy. And Nangxiang she was actually willing to give them this song to end the band? But it's still not good. Yuji's Hai Hongxia shook her head. We can't just accept the results of Nangxiang Sang's hard work lightly. Writing such a sympathetic and moving piece of music definitely doesn't happen overnight. That requires a lot of effort and changes day and night. Although very greedy. But Yuji Shi Hongxia still couldn't accept the work that was filled with Nangxiang Shi's painstakingly. Everyone present was silent. As Itaki Hongxia said, it was a work that Nango Shi put his heart and soul into. Reach out and take it away. This is not only disrespectful to Nangxiang Shi, but also disrespectful to the work itself. But I think it's acceptable. During this time when everyone remained silent, only one person raised his small palm. As for this person, no one could have imagined that Ichisato Goto usually didn't dare to speak loudly and seemed timid. Everyone was a little surprised. I think no, it's Senior Nangxiang. He must have his own considerations. This was the first time he spoke in front of so many people. Goto Ichiri stuttered and his voice trembled. But even so, she still spoke quietly and firmly. She continued, he is not the kind of person who would say such things when his mind is hot. Goto Ichisato can understand Nangxiang Shi's thoughts. Because in her memory, I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness was actually the song they performed after they ended the band. Nangxiang Shi just used Miss Pa's mouth to return the song that should have belonged to them. That person, although he didn't say anything, actually cared about them ending the band. Thinking of this, Goto Ichiri's original timidity weakened. He was willing to give us the song I Don't Want to Die Alone, and he must have thought carefully about it, so I think we should accept his help. That's all I have to say. Goto sat down. Speak out. Although she looked very unpretentious and her words were procrastinated, she said it. She successfully overcame her social phobia symptoms. Goto Ichiri looked at the palm of his hand. If it were my previous self, I would definitely not be able to do this kind of thing. Although it was very weak, during the period of communication with Nangxiang Shi, she could clearly feel that she seemed to be changing vaguely. After Goto Kazuri finished speaking, others present also fell silent. Not just because Nangxiang Shi was willing to hand over the music to them. What's more, I'm surprised by Goto Ichiri's change. You must know that when Ichiri Goto first came to the Stars exhibition hall 2 months ago, he was so transparent that he didn't even dare to speak loudly. Not to mention expressing his thoughts in front of everyone like now. They couldn't help but think of Nangxiang. This young man seems to have a special ability to change others. Then, the problem is brought back to the original point. Accept. Still don't accept it? Just when others were about to express their thoughts, a voice came. There's nothing to get hung up on. I didn't actually compose the song. Everyone turned around and saw that Nangxiang Shi had already walked downstairs carrying a dinner plate. Distribute everyone's plates. Nangxiang Shi then continued, as I said before, this song was written by several of my playmates, but they are no longer in this world now. Before they left this world, they also asked me, hoping that I could find a band suitable for this song. Nang Xiangxi seemed to be lost in memories. It's because of them that I became slightly interested in music. For me, this piece of music, in addition to being a memory of a friend, actually means entrusting it to someone who can entrust it to me. At this point, he smiled, I think ending the band is very suitable for the style of this song, don't you think so? Indeed. Ryo Yamato was not modest, but nodded directly. I Don't Want to Die Alone is indeed a perfect song to end the band. To be honest, when she saw this song, she even doubted whether there was another version of herself in the world. Because she felt that only another version of herself could write such a familiar song that was suitable for ending the band. My Love Simulation with Them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 82. But Ujizi Hongzia still felt something was not good. Take it and use it. Nang Xiangxi waved his hand. I Don't Want to Die Alone itself is the song that ends the band, even in simulation, even if it is the song that ends the band in the future. Nang Xiangxi is not willing to use their music to make himself famous, that is too despicable. Okay, since Nang Xiangsan said so. After listening to Nang Xiangxi's explanation, Ujizi Hongzia felt that it was very similar to what the other party had just made up on the spot, but she still nodded. But since I have accepted Nang Xiangsan's friend's music, out of respect for Nang Xiangsan, I also hope that Nang Xiangsan can agree to my request. Ask. Looking at Nango-shi's face, Ijishi Hongzia said thoughtfully, I hope Nango-san can become a supporting member of the band that ends. Well. Support members. This unexpected development made Nang Xiangxi somewhat surprised. Chapter 90. A few things about Jian bench heart treatment, 4,200 words. The so-called support members actually mean off-site personnel who are not formal members of the band and come to help the band when needed. Itaki Hongzia probably also saw that Nang Xiangxi didn't want to join the ending band, so he came up with this plan. In this way, external publicity can also say that I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness was written and composed by him as a support member. This can be regarded as retaining the rights of Nang Xiangxi as the original creator to the maximum extent. After hearing this, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but look at Ijishi Hongzia. Obviously he didn't expect things to develop like this. And it seems that if she doesn't accept this proposal, Ichiki Hongzia will probably not accept the song I Don't Want to Die in Loneliness. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. It should be said that he was a character who was called an archangel by various crazy essays on Taiba and B-side in his previous life. Ichiki Hongzia was really thinking about him, and he felt it. Thinking of this, Nang Xiangxi did not continue to be pretentious and simply nodded, okay. Very good. Yuji knew that Hongzia was a little nervous just now, but she relaxed immediately. After finally getting Nango Toki's consent, she and Kita Ikuyo cheered together. Yamada Ryo next to him was also a little moved when he heard the news of Nang Xiang's agreement. This woman was even thinking about whether to use her senior authority to get some oil out of Nang Xiangxi, the junior who had just joined the band. On the other side, Goto Kazuri couldn't help but secretly glance at Nango Toki a few more times. Although only a support member. But does this mean that she will be in contact with Nang Xiang for a longer time in the future? Should be okay, right? I am a senior. She came in and took advantage of my senior privileges to let him accompany me. It was natural, right? Right? Thinking of this, Goto couldn't help but giggle like hee and hee with only half of his delicate and pretty face hidden under his bangs. Nang Xiangxi actually didn't know that a certain two women had begun to fantasize about using their non-existent senior privileges to make a fortune here. But I guess even if he knew, he would just laugh it off. After all, in his opinion, he is just a support member at most, and there is no need to follow any senior-senior relationship at all. It is equivalent to having a band name at the end, and there is no need to pay the performance hall fee like Kazuri Goto. Anyway, it didn't have much impact on him, so he simply agreed. And at the end of the day, the band has a name, which is actually good for Nangxiang. He looked at the 4 girls finishing the band. Although they are still young on the road to rock music. But not so in simulation. In the future, Ichisato Goto will become Japan's leading guitar queen. The types of guitars handled by this gloomy girl will sell better that season. Ryo Yamada is a serious and aloof bass genius. Both young and middle-aged people are fascinated by her elegant and lazy neutral appearance and her superb bass skills. As for Kita Ikuyo and Ichiki Hunka. In fact, let alone these two. The presence of the drummer and vocalist is indelible in the band. As the core social talents of the team, one of them is the future queen of drums, and the other is a vocalist who is said to have both strength and guitar skills, which is rare in a millennium. Both of them have also appeared on old music such as Rock in Japan magazine cover. It has to be said that even in simulation, the Japanese still like to give others nicknames with unclear meanings and Chuyunibu. But from these nicknames, we can actually see that the future end band has a dominant position at the top of the entire Japanese pop music circle. Not everyone is qualified to be called the Queen of Rock. With the popularity of the band at that time, there were countless people who wanted to be their support members. Now Nangxiang Shi took advantage of their immaturity and successfully signed up the band after the band ended. In fact, it can be regarded as a big bargain. Being a support member, even if you are not a formal member, has many benefits. And before that, since I am already a support member of the band, I should also have the right to contribute to the band's video account, right? Nangxiang Shi raised his head and asked simply. Yes. Monetizing online videos is something he has always wanted to do. He bought a small refrigerator at home, and he also had the habit of buying books. The little savings he had saved had long been used up. Now he feels all over his body and only has a mere 30,000 yen to live on. 30,000 yen, according to Japan's prices, if it's the middle of the month, you can live until the end of the month if you live frugally. But it's only early June. If online videos cannot be monetized as soon as possible, then Nangxiang Shi estimates that he will have to follow Yamada Ryo's example and dig wild vegetables everywhere to eat by the end of the month. The original manga contains a description of Yamada Ryo digging wild vegetables. Before that, he had to put his first submission online. It just happened that the band should have established their own video accounts by now. So, as a support member, it would be logical for me to borrow their account for a while, right? And if later on, their popularity gradually increases, they may be able to increase their own video income. If his online submission is really not good, he can also accept the part-time job invitation from Zinjuji. It can be said that Nangxiang's abacus was sound and his advance and retreat were measured, so there was no need to fear starving to death. As for Nangxiang Shi's reasonable request, as the founder of the band, Ijishi Hungzia naturally didn't notice any problems. After all, the end band now is completely different from the popular one in the simulation. Their current online followings are only in single digits, all of them are followed by people in the Stars Performance Hall. Even because Kita Ikuyo loves makeup and skincare, and likes to share it with others, they often upload some beauty tutorials and videos under their accounts. This makes the entire band channel look less like a band and more like the account of a beauty blogger. It's also a good thing to have Nangxiang Shi contribute videos on it. Therefore, Ujizi Hungzia nodded simply. Of course, well, Nangxiang-san, I will send you the band's video account password using my Line account later, is that okay? Ken. Nangxiang nodded, then looked back at Miss Pa. Miss Pa, the video you edited should be ready. Miss Pa's delicate face was revealed from her elegantly scattered long black hair. She squinted her eyes and showed a cute smile. Everything has been edited according to Brother Nangxiang's request. Just wait a moment and I will send the video file to you. Nangxiang Shi waited patiently for a while, and then received a video file from the Line account. The video capacity is not that large, probably because MSPA cut out all the preparations for the outdoor performance. That's just right. When I was in Nangxiang, I downloaded a lot of study materials on my mobile phone, but I didn't clean them out very much. Now they have accumulated in piles, and there is not much memory left. Thank you, Miss PA. Nangxiang breathed out a sigh of relief. I got the video I wanted and finished the band's official account password. Ichiki Hungzia will also send it to me later. In this way, things in the Stars exhibition hall have come to an end for the time being. So next. Nan Xiangxi looked at his mobile phone. He is waiting. Waiting for Nakahara Mizuki's call. Although relying on his understanding of Nakahara Ruxi, Nangxiang was very sure that the other party would take the initiative to find him. At that time, I could naturally hand over the elixir to Nishiki Kishu. But everything is possible. But what if Nakahara Mizuki suddenly had a sudden change of thought and felt that it was unreliable to rely on a psychic he had just met? No one can say for sure about this kind of thing. Thinking of this, Nan Xiangxi couldn't help but shake his head. If there was really no call from Li Kailike, then he would have no choice but to visit in person. But at that time, the credibility of what he said was greatly reduced. After all, the image she left to Nakahara Mizuki should be a relatively mysterious one. While waiting for Nakahara Mizuki's call, Nangxiangxi casually dropped the video of the outdoor performance under the band's video account, then stopped paying attention and continued waiting. In this way, Ichigo Goto went to work, waited until they got off work, and then returned home alone. His cell phone still didn't ring. Looking at the still quiet mobile phone, Nangxiangxi couldn't help but shake his head. Sure enough, is it still difficult to gain the other party's trust just by relying on words? Thinking of this, Nangxiangxi put down his cell phone and began to think about how he should respond when he comes to Li Kailike tomorrow. It was also at this time, as if in response to Nangxiang's thoughts. His cell phone on the table suddenly rang. What lights up on the phone screen is a series of numbers without any notes. It was not the phone number of the band member Ichiri Goto that he was familiar with. It's not a phone number from a Japanese phone operator. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwei. Chapter 83. However, for Nangxiangxi, who has experienced simulated memories, this string of numbers is actually not unfamiliar. This is exactly the phone number of Riko Nakahara Mizuki. Finally come. Nangxiang breathed a sigh of relief. He had never expected that Nakahara Mizuki could be so calm. But considering that this is related to Nishiki Chisuke's body after all, it is normal for the members of Riko to consider it carefully. The call has come now. But Nangxiang didn't have the anxious thoughts just now. He stood up first, went to the sink to get a glass of water, and drank it. When the time was almost up, he pretended not to be waiting for the call, picked up the phone and answered. Hello? Hello, Nangxiang Psychic Office. Nangxiangxi's voice was smooth and gentle, reaching the ears of all the members of Li Kailike through the hands-free speaker of the mobile phone. Why? Hearing this voice, Nishiki Kishu, who was standing by the phone, blinked in surprise. What's wrong? Chianzu. Inu Takina was listening to the phone call attentively. Nishiki Kishu's surprised voice made her couldn't help but turn around. Ah, no. I just feel like I've heard this voice somewhere. The way Nishiki Kishu tilted her face and thought slightly was a bit cute. And the name Nangxiang also reminded her of the song she heard at the outdoor concert before. That song, I Don't Want to Die Alone. It feels really good to be depressed until you are heartbroken and despairing, and then to regain hope again. It made her feel the same way when she was in such a bad situation now. Just when she was about to say something, SHH Nakahara Mizuki put her finger to her lips, then glared at Nishiki Kishu, who was still about to speak. The latter stuck out her tongue and made a face in response. She shook her head helplessly. I'm still talking. Then she coughed. I'm sorry, Master Nangxiang, something happened here just now. It's okay, Miss Nakahara. The calm voice of the young man over there came, and he spoke as if he had expected it. I guess there must be several other members of Riko sitting next to Miss Nakahara. Cough 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 cough. Being exposed in person, Nakahara Mizuki coughed several times. Then she turned back, looked at Inu Takina and the others, and lowered her voice. How is it? Isn't it amazing? I have never met you, but it seems like I have known you existed for a long time. Qianshu's voice just now must have been exposed. Hu Tao, who was lying on the bar counter of Like, was playing with his mobile phone while expressing his thoughts. But just as she said these words, another voice came from the phone. Indeed, I heard Miss Nishiki Kishu's voice just now, but I am actually very aware of the fact that you are lying on the Riko bar playing with your mobile phone right now, Miss Kurumi. Why? As soon as he said this, Hu Tao, who had looked lazy and tired just now, widened his eyes. When Takina Inu made a special trip outside to confirm again and again that no one was peeping outside the store, Hu Tao's eyes widened in disbelief. Although I had already learned about each other's abilities from the conversation between Nakahara Mizuki and Nangxiang Shi. But after actually experiencing it myself, it was a different feeling. After all, after confirming his name through the air, he could even know the name of Nishiki Kishu, who made the sound just now. This feeling is completely beyond the scope of a psychic, right? Even Inu Takina looked surprised at this time. Although she is still a staunch atheist, facing such a scene that is beyond common sense, she has to start to wonder if there are really some abilities in this world that are beyond her knowledge. Just when most of the members of Riko fell into silence and didn't know how to continue speaking, only Nishiki Kishu, who was still deep in thought just now, reached out to pick up the phone with bright eyes, and sounded excitedly. Is it Nangxiang-san? Did Nangxiang-san actually work as a psychic? It's so interesting. She greeted him happily. I thought it was some kind of weirdo, so I was worried. It turned out to be Nango-san. I am Qianshu. That's the one. That very cute girl you saw after your outdoor performance. You should have an impression, right? Her voice sounded excited. But Nangxiangshi on the other end of the phone shook his head helplessly. He had obviously lowered his voice on purpose. Even Inu Takina didn't notice it. Result: his desire to remain mysterious was actually seen through by this sensitive girl. Chapter 91. Universal Cure Medicine, 4,500 words. Nangxiangshi had actually already anticipated that his voice might reveal this. After all, in the simulation, Nishiki Kishu had already demonstrated her keen perception ability. He deliberately lowered his tone to prevent this. But in the end, these small actions did not escape Miss Nishikiki, who has an amazing sense of perception. It's me, Miss Nishikiki. Now that it has been exposed, there is no need to continue to hide it. Being secretive and hiding your identity is more likely to arouse suspicion from others. Similarly, Nangxiangshi himself doesn't particularly like the idea of hiding his identity. Knew it? Nishiki Kishu on the other end of the phone seemed extremely excited. Let me just say, the voices are so similar. She wanted to continue, but was interrupted by Nangxiangshi with a smile. Let's not mention this for now. Listen to me, Miss Nishikiki. Nishiki Kishu immediately closed her mouth obediently and tilted her head to listen carefully, which was a bit cute. I'm not joking about treating Ms. Nishikiki's heart. I'm really sure about it. Nangxiangshi spoke like this. There is no problem in exchanging the elixir. Although 900 heartbeat points are precious, they are not as valuable as a human life. but before that, Nang Xiangxi had to figure something out. That is whether Nishiki Kishu is willing to believe in himself. If you exchange it for the elixir, then give it to Jinmukyanzu. However, due to suspicion, the other party did not use the panacea in the end, but discarded it. That would only be a waste of his 900 heartbeat points. But if you think about it from Nishiki Kishu's perspective, she is a person who has been sentenced to death by a doctor, and the doctor also told her that her congenital heart disease is basically incurable. It would be more difficult to convince her that there really is a panacea to cure her heart disease in this world, right? Therefore, Nang Xiangxi felt that he still had to say what needed to be said. He thought and then spoke. Are you willing to believe me? Miss Nishikiki? Yes, I do. Well. Listening to the other end of the phone, Nishiki Kishu barely hesitated for a second before nodding in agreement. Nang Xiang felt a little surprised. The other party's attitude was revealed too quickly, which made Nang Xiang feel inexplicably unconfident when he had so many mental activities just now. He prepared at least 500 to 600 words of manuscript to persuade the other party, but all of them were useless. Are you serious? Miss Nishikiki? In order to confirm the other party's thoughts, Nang Xiangxi spoke again. Of course I'm serious, but I'm a little bit surprised why Nang Xianggai thinks he's joking. Nang Xiangxi. He couldn't help but shook his head, and then said, although I didn't mean that, but you may need to eat a suspicious capsule similar to Sanwu produced by Sanwu Enterprise in front of me, and that's okay. No problem. Nishiki Kishu still didn't hesitate at all, but looked cheerful. She completely ignored the content in Nang Xiangxi's words that could make anyone alert, and she was cheerful to an incredible extent. Even if I take Sanwu capsules or something else, I can do it? Yeah. This decisive attitude without any hesitation made Nang Xiangxi on the other end of the phone unable to help but ask. Have you never had any doubts? After all, listening to the content of my words should be enough to make ordinary people wary, right? Why should I doubt Brother Nang Xiang? Nishiki Kishu just smiled, pressed down the speakerphone, put the phone to his ear, and whispered like a child blowing into his ear in Nang Xiang. I never like to doubt other people's goodwill. I think it's better to be grateful the first time than to doubt it the first time. So, rather than being suspicious, I actually want to thank Brother Nang Xiang. Thousands of bunches. Inu Takina couldn't help but speak, but was interrupted by the smiling Nishiki Kishu who shook his head. I know, Takina, but the current situation can't be worse, right? Even if I end up dying on the hospital bed, I still want to struggle while I can still move. She looked at Inu Takina with her bright eyes and smiled, although I don't know why Nang Xiang is willing to do his best for me, I am willing to believe in him wholeheartedly. To put it bluntly. Nishiki Kishu took a deep breath and looked at the ceiling, as if muttering to himself or speaking to everyone present. I don't want to die. Everyone. At this moment, everyone was silent. Because they know that their words are just opinions at best. Nishiki Kishu's life should be decided by her. Whether the flower of life will gradually wither like this, or whether it will wither after a hard struggle, that is Nishiki Kishu's own choice. They can only respect each other. So. I'm begging you. Brother Nang Xiang. And here's the thing. Nishiki Kishu expressed his stance cheerfully at first, and then his voice became a little hesitant. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Uda Wei. Chapter 84. How? Have we met before? Except for that outdoor performance, I just forgot. Nishiki Kishu still had the kind of character that couldn't hide his words at all, so he asked directly. Although I don't know how Brother Nang Xiang knew about my condition, and I don't know why Brother Nang Xiang chose to help me, but I can probably feel that the process must be very difficult. Yes, she didn't know what means Nang Xiang she used to do it. But remembering your own preferences and habits, and those of all Rico members, is not something that can be accomplished overnight. And I don't know why. When communicating with Nan Xiang, her keen sense always makes her feel. It seemed that I had known the young man I was talking to on the phone for a long time at a certain place. They met, and then left him alone to suffer in pain. This is probably an illusion. But Nishikikishu, who has always been confident in his own feelings, decided to believe this sudden and unreasonable feeling. On the other side of Nangxiang, after hearing Nishikikishu's words, the hand holding the phone tightened slightly. He thought of the girl he failed to save in both simulations. The blonde girl who suddenly broke into her outdoor performance life and then suddenly disappeared one day. The blonde girl who worked hard for the orphans in the orphanage in Rico, and continued to struggle after falling ill, desperately trying to survive, and loved herself the most. He clearly had two chances, but he failed to save the other party. They can only helplessly watch the other party's fire of life extinguish with helplessness and hopelessness. Although it is a simulation. But in the simulated memory, my unwillingness and torment could not be erased. So when I heard Nishikikishu, who was still alive and kicking, asked in a puzzled tone. Perhaps due to the slight influence of the simulated memory, Nangxiang felt an inexplicable sense of touch. Then, he shook his head and said with a smile, "No, except for the outdoor performance, I think I have never had contact with Miss Nishikiki again." Telling the story after he adapted it from the simulation would easily increase Nishikikishu's favor for him. But that was false after all. You have obtained the specialty sincerity, and now the specialty sincerity level is LV1. The system prompt that suddenly popped up stunned Nangxiang for a while. Now he really feels that there is something wrong with this love simulator. How does the specialty of sincerity coexist with the specialty of lying? He was speechless. That's right. On the other side, Nishikikishu listened to Nangxiang's words. Although she did not continue to ask questions, she always felt that her feelings were correct. She vaguely felt that Nangxiang was hiding something, but she couldn't ask further. Then, as for the agreed time, it will be around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning at your Likalik, how about it? Over there, Nangxiang made another sound. Okay. Kinzu, I am available 24 hours a day, every hour. It's good that you're still energetic. See you tomorrow, Ms. Nishikiki. Nishikikishu's energetic voice made Nangxiang smile. Hey, I'm so disappointed. You can just call me Qianshu, but I still want to be closer to Nangxiang brother. How about I call you Shijun from now on? Hang up now and talk to you tomorrow. Without responding to Nishikikishu's words, Nangxiang simply spoke. Ah. Okay, bye, I'll see you tomorrow, Shikun, I'm leaving it to you. Listening to Nishikikishu's lovely protracted voice on the other end of the phone, Nangxiang hung up the phone directly. Then he looked up at the time. The time now is around 10 o'clock in the evening. If you want to learn, it is too late now. As for simulation, the problem of Nishikikishu's heart has not been solved yet. Even if it is simulated now, it will only lead to a regrettable ending. In other words, better sleep. Anyway, I have to get up early for a run tomorrow, so why not get some sleep now? Thinking of this, Nangxiang turned off the lights and did not forget to charge his mobile phone. Then he turned over without hesitation and retracted his body into the bed. His sleep quality is very good and he has almost no symptoms of insomnia. Soon, light snoring began. Compared with the relaxed atmosphere here in Nangxiang, the atmosphere of the Rico Cafe on the other side is completely different. Although each of them chose to respect Nishikikishu's choice. But that doesn't mean they don't worry about each other. The appearance of Nangxiang did bring a glimmer of hope that was almost undetectable. But if it fails in the end, it will be an extreme feeling of disparity from hope to disappointment. Only Nishikikishu can realize it. With such an uneasy feeling, All the members of Like have had insomnia tonight. A night without words. The next day, Nang Xiangxi got up and ran as usual. Your physique has increased slightly, and your exercise value has increased. The current exercise value is 7. There is no change in the movement value. But it feels really good to be able to improve yourself every day. After returning home, I simply washed up, found a random set of clothes in Nangxiang, and went out directly. I estimated the time and headed in the direction of Like. The Lico Rico Cafe is still the same as yesterday. There were almost no customers inside, and it was completely deserted. But other than that, this is really... Nang Xiangxi took a look inside and realized that except for the store manager Mika, who didn't know what he was busy with, all the members of Like were present. Except for Nishiki Kishu, who looked relaxed, the rest of the people had solemn expressions on their faces. Ah, Toki-kun. Are you here? Nishiki Kishu, who was humming a little tune and looking exactly the same as usual, jumped up to Nango and said, "Hey, welcome to Rico Rico." "Well, here I come, Miss Nishikiki." "Really, you just told me to call me Qianshu. Let's not talk about this for now and let's get down to business." Nangxiang ignored the girl who deliberately wanted to get close to him. "Hey? Shijun is so cold." Chisunishi Kiki, who was full of energy early in the morning, pouted cutely. He quickly took something out of his pocket. While making this action, he opened the mall interface. "Do you want to redeem the universal healing medicine?" "Yes. Current heart rate remaining, 330. I confirmed the feeling of something appearing in my hand. Nangxiangxi simply took out the things. Under the light, everyone can see clearly. When he was lying in Nangxiang's hand, he was holding a small capsule filled with blue particles that was sealed in a lead plastic plate. Is that all? Everyone present except Nishiki Kishu was disappointed. Originally, they thought Nangxiangxi would suddenly take out some high-end, special liquid medicine, or certificates from various medical schools in cardiology to prove his identity. In the end, he just took out a suspicious-looking capsule? Isn't this a naked joke? A capsule? Can it cure Nishiki Kishu's 17-year-old congenital heart disease? None of the panaceas that often appear in games or novels contain such magic, right? Excuse me, how many courses of treatment do I need to take this medicine for? After all, Nakahara Mizuki was the first person present who was persuaded by Nangxiangxi. Although she was a little disappointed, she still raised her hand with hope and asked in a low voice. Maybe after a few courses of treatment, Nishiki Kishu's congenital heart disease can get better? But Nangxiangxi's next move made her feel heavy disappointment even though she still had hope. When he saw Nangxiang, he shook his head, and then said calmly, "There are only a few courses of treatment and only this capsule." Good guy. At this moment, everyone present was a little unable to hold their nerve. You must know that this kind of capsule medicine requires at least 1 or 2 courses of treatment to be effective. A capsule? Is this really regarded as a panacea in games or novels, or a secret medicine that can restore full health after taking one? Mr. Nangxiang. Inu Takina, who has the best relationship with Nishiki Kishu, took a deep breath and finally spoke, "I respect you and like your songs very much, but..." She didn't mean to complain about Nangxiang at all, but there was already a cry in her voice. "Do you know how much determination Qianshu needs to make just to stand here? She has put absolute trust in you, and she wants to cure the disease that has troubled Qianshu for 17 years with just 1 capsule," such words. "It's just too, child's play." When she said this, she was already a little unable to speak. That feeling of having great expectations that turn into disappointment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udazi. Chapter 85. Only those who have experienced it personally can understand. But at this time, Nango didn't pay attention to Inu Takina. He just looked at Nishiki Kishu seriously and said, Miss Jinmyo, do you want to eat? Or not? Yes. Eat. Still not eating? An answer has to be given. And that's when Nang Xiangxi asked about this sentence. Nishiki Kishu took action. She walked up to Nan Xiangxi and spoke. Shi-kun, I already said it yesterday, I'm leaving it to you. It was different from the disappointed expressions of everyone present. Her pretty and enthusiastic face looked up at Nan Xiang. I meant what I said. She took the capsule from Nang Xiangxi's hand without hesitation. Then he moved decisively, without any hesitation or sloppiness, to remove the capsule from the lead plastic plate, and then swallowed it directly without drinking any water. Just like when Nang Xiang came here and faced so many doubtful eyes, he believed that he would eat this capsule. Nishiki Kishu also believed in the feeling in his mind. Nang Xiangxi was definitely not the kind of person who would make fun of her illness casually. He took out every piece of his sincerity. Then she would naturally respond to this sincerity. Gudu. Throat crawling. Before anyone could react, Nishiki Kishu had completely swallowed the medicine. She believed in Nang Xiangxi. Chapter 92. Doing things that adolescent boys love to do, 4,300 words. Everyone present did not expect that Nishiki Kishu's movements were so fast. She was still talking just now, but the next second she picked up the capsule and opened it and swallowed it without hesitation. This action was so quick and decisive that even if some of the members of Rico wanted to persuade him, they didn't have time. Nang Xiangxi was a little unexpected at first. But when he thought that the person standing in front of him was Jinmyo Qinshu, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but shake his head. Should I say that she is worthy of Nishikiki Senshu? You will always do something unexpected. The other party's character is so wild and unimaginable that it's hard for people to figure it out. But Nang Xiangxi raised his head and looked at the love simulator in mid-air to give a supplementary explanation of the universal healing medicine. Universal healing medicine, 900 heartbeat points after taking it, it can cure any theoretically incurable trauma or disease. Different people will also have different irritation reactions due to different degrees of disease and trauma. From a certain perspective, this love simulator is too deceptive. Since there will be different stimulating reactions, why didn't you just replenish it at the beginning and have to wait until it was redeemed before telling him about it? Nan Xiangxi looked at Jinmyo Qinshu, but still took the initiative to step forward and asked. This capsule will produce different levels of irritation depending on the individual. How do you feel? How does it feel? Nishiki Kishu blinked after swallowing the capsule, and then looked at his palm again. She really wanted to feel the changes in her body. But there's no special feeling. The body was still the same. From her personal senses, it seemed that there was no change. If I have to say anything about changes, probably in the heart, I feel some inexplicable stuffiness. Jinmyo Qinshu couldn't help but stretched out her hand and rubbed her left chest in front of Nan Xiangxi. The already impressive career line was kneaded into various shapes under her actions. Qianshu. What are you doing in front of boys? Seeing Nishiki Kishu's movements becoming more and more exaggerated, Inu Takina couldn't help but walk up and grab her hand. Hey? Is it okay? She Junior doesn't care anyway. Nishiki Kishu made a dissatisfied hey sound. Nang Xiangxi didn't speak, he just stared at Jinmyo Qinshu without saying anything. Besides feeling a little stuffy, do you feel anything else? Inu Takina grabbed Nishiki Kishu's white palm to prevent her from moving, and asked with concern. Other feelings, actually it's nothing. The main thing is stuffiness, and it may be because of the medicine I took, so I'm very sleepy now. Nishiki Kishu rubbed her chest with her other hand and said thoughtfully. Since you're a little sleepy, Qianshu, you can go back to the dormitory and sleep today. We'll be on duty for you. Looking at Nishiki Kishu, She didn't feel any discomfort. Inu Takina's nerves that were tense just now finally relaxed. The matter of treating the heart can be considered in the long term, as long as there are no eating problems. Thinking of this, she turned her head to look at Nang Xiang, who looked a little thoughtful on the other side, and bowed her thanks. I really bothered Nang Xiang-san to come all the way here today. Although the capsule seems to be of little use, at least Nang Xiang came here specifically for Nishiki Kishu. Of course she wanted to express her gratitude. In response to her thanks, Nan Xiangxi just shook his head, and at the same time glanced at Nishiki Kishu thoughtfully, and then said, "Since Miss Jinmu is fine, that's the best thing. I happen to have something to go out for. Miss Jinmu, would you like to give me a ride? I happen to have something I want to tell you." He offered the invitation. But this invitation made the always cheerful and cheerful Kishu Nishiki hesitate a little. She opened her mouth. This. If you really don't want to, forget it, Miss Jinmu, you don't have to force yourself. Woo. When the other party said these words, didn't he force her to go? Jinmu Kinshu wailed and said dejectedly, "Shi-kun, I find that sometimes, you are really mean-spirited. I don't understand what Miss Nishikiki means." Nang Xiangxi's expression remained calm, but the words he spoke made Jinmu Kinshu unable to help but glare at him. Okay. People know it. I'll give you a ride. Just give you a ride." She stood up as if she had given up on herself and walked to Nan Xiangxi's side. "That would be troublesome." Nan Xiangxi nodded, then looked at all the members of the Like Cafe, nodded to them, turned and left. Nishiki Kishu didn't hesitate, taking steps to keep up with the opponent's back. The two of them left the Rico Cafe one after another. Only then did Nang Xiangxi's voice reach her ears. "Can you still hold on?" "Huh? Can you still hold on?" Nishiki Kishu looked confused, as if he didn't understand what Nang Xiang was talking about. "Stop pretending in front of me." When Nan Xiang looked at Jinmu Qianshu. But Nishiki Kishu still looked puzzled, as if he was surprised by Nang Xiangxi's attitude. The two of them stared at each other for a while, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. The lively smile on the girl's face gradually disappeared, and the expression on her face finally began to change. At the same time, he tightly covered his left chest with his right hand. Under Nang Xiangxi's gaze, Nishiki Kishu finally couldn't maintain his standing position and squatted down. At the same time, he covered his left chest and the heart, opened his mouth wide and gasped rapidly with ha. As expected, I have been suppressing the irritating reaction. Nang Xiang sighed and stretched out his hand to Jinmu Kinshu. "What? I'll carry you to the hospital, and I'll find a taxi ahead." Nan Xiangxi's voice was calm, and he pulled her up from the ground without hesitation, and then carried her on his back naturally. Just now, he had actually felt it. Nishiki Kishu spoke in an urgent voice, and her voice was completely different from usual. It must be that Nishiki Kishu didn't want to worry him and the members of Rico Cafe, so he deliberately pretended to be nonchalant. "But, Shi-kun, how on earth did you know?" Due to being carried on her back, her body weight shifted forward and she naturally hugged Nan Xiangxi's neck. While breathing heavily, she opened her mouth. "Obviously I've been pretending, so successfully." Yes. Even now she still can't figure it out. She obviously pretended to be so successful. Even Inu Takina, who spent time with her day and night, didn't notice anything strange about her. But Nang Xiangxi was able to tell at a glance that something was wrong with him. How should I put this question? I should say I have experience. While carrying her forward, Nang Xiangxi answered her questions casually. It is indeed experienced. After 2 weeks of simulation, he had long been accustomed to Nishiki Kishu's disguised acting skills. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiudeo Udaziiwe. Chapter 86. When she was feeling very uncomfortable, she would always shoulder the responsibility silently, and this was even more clear to Nang Xiang. Has experience. Jinmukensha ran out of energy and lay on Nang Xiangxi's shoulder, looking at his handsome profile. She could actually laugh at this time. He, sure enough, Shijun, you and I have met somewhere before, right? Why do you say that? Feel. Nishiki Kishu closed her eyes, feeling the increasingly severe symptoms of shortness of breath in her chest, and whispered into Nan Xiangxi's ear and replied, I always feel that I have seen you somewhere, met you. She always felt that she had treated Nang Xiang very badly before, making him sad and sad. It's just an illusion. Nan Xiangxi didn't look back and continued to trot towards the intersection. Since Shi-kun said so, then just treat it as an illusion. The irritating reaction of the universal healing medicine became more and more severe, which made Nishiki Kishu, who felt uneasy, subconsciously hug Nang Xiangxi's neck tightly. I said, Shijun, if my condition really improves, should we try dating? I feel like we should be a good match. Do you know you've only known me for 2 days? People actually believe in love at first sight in movies. Nishiki Kishu, who loved watching movies, hugged Nang Xiangxi's neck tightly. She didn't know why, but she felt like she didn't want to let go of her hand when Nan Xiang was carrying her on her back. Then we have to wait until your condition is completely cured. That means you will date me after I get better. Jinmukensha made a weak voice, and at this time, she also became energetic. She reluctantly opened her eyes and looked at Nang Xiang. No one could ignore or reject the pitifully wide-open watery eyes. Then. No, Nan Xiangxi's answer was as ruthless as ever. Hey? At this time, shouldn't the hero of the movie usually agree to the patient's last request? He didn't know where he got the strength from. After hearing what Nang Xiangxi said, Jinmukenshu angrily stretched out his fingers and poked the side of his face. This man is so heartless. You won't die. I have confidence in my medicine. Nang Xiangxi was indeed very confident about the evil things given by the love simulator. Logically speaking, the universal healing medicine would repair Kinki Chisuk's defective heart. And I can't make promises to you casually. Meeting, and interacting with others are all important matters and cannot be treated lightly. Nang Xiangxi spoke calmly. Others treat you sincerely, but you treat them with a playful attitude. Such people are just simple scum. Obviously, as long as you nod, you can date a beautiful girl like me, and then you can do many things that adolescent boys like you love to do, but you still refused. Nishiki Kishu hit Nang Xiangxi's back with her head in dissatisfaction. But, Shi-kun, do you know how you will make me feel when you say these words? What does it feel like? Let someone tell you. When Nishiki Kishu came closer to Nang Xiang's ear again, he whispered and said with a smile. It will make me feel, Shijun is really cute, it will make me like you even more, Then she continued, please, Shijun, please date me. I have a hunch that my life after dating you will be very happy. Nang Xiangxi. In a sense, Nang Xiangxi really couldn't understand Miss Nishiki's strange brain circuit. He didn't answer this sentence. He finally ran out of the intersection and stopped a taxi. After stuffing Nishiki Kishu inside, he also sat on it. The hospital where Nishiki Chisuk was treated, and after 2 weeks of simulated Nang Xiang, he was naturally familiar with the roads, and he told the driver the name of the place. Then he looked at Nishiki Kishu. The other party's body, which was originally weak due to the stimulating reaction of the universal healing medicine, felt even more drowsy after a while of tossing when getting into the car. Are we, at the hospital? Toki-kun. Nishiki Kishu, who was sitting in the back seat of the car and leaning on Nang Xiangshi's shoulder, held Nang Xiangshi's hand and made a sound like he was talking in his sleep. "We've arrived at the hospital, rest assured." Nang Xiang had no choice but to gently stroke Jinmu Qianbin's blonde hair to make her feel more comfortable. After 2 weeks in Nang Xiang, Nishiki Kishu felt a warm and comfortable feeling all over her body due to her overly skilled techniques. Sitting in the back seat of the car, she held Nang Xiang tightly and refused to let go. Just like that, he slowly fell into a deep sleep. In her dream, Nishiki Kishu dreamed of many things. But what annoyed her the most was that she saw some women in her dream who were competing with her for Nang Xiang. There seems to be a woman with pink hair. She looks weak and very easy to bully. There is also a woman with short blue hair, who always sounds free and lazy when she speaks. The key is that they all look no worse than me. Even in a dream, Nishiki Kishu felt an inexplicable sense of crisis. I feel like if I don't take advantage of the opportunity, I'll seize Nang Xiangshi now. He might be abducted by other women of unknown origin in the future. That kind of thing. Toki-kun. He woke up suddenly from his dream. The blonde girl suddenly stood up from the bed and startled the doctors and nurses around her. "Nishiki, Miss Nishikiki. Are you okay?" The doctor beside him looked at Nishiki Kishu's sudden movement and couldn't help but ask. "Hey? Dr. Noguchi? What am I? I just woke up from my sleep and looked at Dr. Noguchi who was treating my heart." Nishiki Kishu, who didn't understand what happened, was stunned. "Ah, an hour ago, a young man who claimed to be your friend, Miss Jinmu, brought you to our hospital. Call yourself my friend?" Jinmu Kinshu suddenly thought of Nang Xiangshi, the man who was abducted by other girls in his dream. "At his request, we gave you a full-body examination, Miss Nishikiki." When he said this, Dr. Noguchi, who took out the examination report, could not suppress the emotion in his voice and said the result very excitedly. "Ms. Nishikiki, after our examination, we found that your original congenital heart disease has been cured. This is simply a miracle in the history of medicine. Can you tell me how you did it?" She looked at the inspection report in her hand with a look of surprise and disbelief. Compared to Dr. Noguchi's disbelief, Nishiki Kishu, who was sitting on the hospital bed, blinked. Because she thought of Nang Xiang's words before she fell asleep. "You won't die. I have confidence in my medicine." That time, what Shijun said, it turns out to be true. Inexplicable emotions surged in my heart. She finally couldn't help but turn her head and looked at Dr. Noguchi, who was still talking about unheard of and medical miracle. She could no longer suppress her urgent voice. "Dr. Noguchi. My boyfriend, where is he now?" The blonde girl sitting on the hospital bed declared her sovereignty without knowing anything about Nang Xiang. Chapter 93. She decided to follow the Nang Xiang succubus, 4,000 words. "Huh? Boyfriend?" After listening to Nishiki Kishu's words in front of him, Dr. Noguchi's expression was a little strange. "What's wrong? Is there any problem?" Jinmu Qianshu is confident and confident. Nang Xiangshi was not here anyway, so she had the confidence to do so. "That's not what I meant, it's just." Dr. Noguchi glanced at Nishiki Kishu. "Ms. Nishiki, if you are talking about Mr. Nango, before you woke up, he specifically told me that he is not your boyfriend, but just you friend." "Well." Full of energy, Nishiki Kishu opened her mouth wide. She really didn't expect that before Nang Xiangshi left, he would actually say this to the doctor as if he was predicting the future. She was a little angry and gritted her teeth. "This man is really are. Really. You know me so well." The anger gradually dissipated, and his eyes shone with vitality. Jinmu Kinshu's slender and plump thighs were lifted directly. He quickly climbed up from the hospital bed and looked around, as if he wanted to catch Nang Xiangshi's figure. "Yes. Nang Xiangxi knew himself too well. She trusted her previous intuition more and more. Being in a relationship with Nang Xiangxi will probably be really fun, and you won't get tired of it all day long. At the same time, at this time, she finally discovered it. My body would feel tired and heavy at every turn. It's like a new life now. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Zi Wei. Chapter 87. The originally heavy body now moves without any burden. The symptoms of shortness of breath that have appeared frequently recently are completely invisible at this time. Infinite energy gushes out from the depths of the body at this time. Miss Jin Muo, through repeated inspections, we have confirmed that your current physical condition is no different from ordinary people. Seemingly sensing Nishiki Kishu's thoughts, Dr. Noguchi suppressed the excitement in his chest and explained. Then she spoke again. This is probably the first case in the world where you have recovered from a congenital heart disease that took 17 years. Have you taken any other drugs? How have you been eating and sleeping recently? I don't know how you feel about your sudden recovery. Do you have any other impressions? The other party asked several questions in succession. Nishiki Kishu, who reacted, immediately thought of the capsule that Nan Xiang had given her. But she quickly suppressed this expression and shook her head. No, I have no impression. Nang Xiangxi did not take the initiative to tell the doctor about the blue capsules. This in itself shows that he does not want this matter to be exposed. Nishiki Kishu has a quick mind and a very good brain. She quickly thought of this and shook her head in denial. That's right. Dr. Noguchi was also a little disappointed after hearing this. If we can figure out how Nishiki Kishu's body regulates and recovers, then we can sort out the paper and come up with the results. This will definitely shock the entire medical community. After all, the problem of congenital heart disease has always been a difficult problem for the world to overcome. Therefore, Dr. Noguchi still did not give up and took the initiative to speak. If you are willing, you can actually stay in our hospital for further observation. Of course, there is no charge for this, but we hope to further observe your physical data, Miss Jin Muo. Hey? There's no need for that. Nishiki Kishu knew that even investigating would be of little use. Her body was able to recover entirely due to the miraculous medicine from Nang Xiang. I really won't keep you too long, Ms. Nishikiki. Dr. Noguchi was still trying to persuade me. But compared to her persuasion, Nishiki Kishu actually cared more about another thing. So when can she see Nang Xiang again? Now in her eyes, Nan Xiangxi's identity has been completely shrouded in mystery. He plays the guitar and seems to have a knack for psychics. Being able to suddenly come up with the medicine that saved her life. She was thinking about this while dealing with Dr. Noguchi's words. Subsequently, Nishiki Kishu, who came out of the hospital, finally came up with an almost perfect strategy. As expected, we should still follow him. Yes. It is the fastest and easiest way to find out a person's identity information. Tail walking and tracking are definitely the best choices. Wasn't Nang Xiang unwilling to tell her his home address and personal information? Then let her investigate it herself. First call Sister Ruxi and ask him out. After it's over, follow him, find his address, and then pester him so that he can't get rid of me. If that doesn't work, there are other ways. In short, I just want to make him unable to leave me. Nishiki Kishu began to think carefully. The most important thing is that it is such an extremely hidden thing. Even Nang Xiang probably wouldn't have expected it. Just perfect. She pushed open the wooden door of the Rico Rico Cafe and was still thinking to herself as she walked. The first step is to ask Shijun out first. Only then will I have a chance to take action. Well, in short, this plan is very important and must not be known to Shijun. The more Nishiki Kishu thought about it, the more he thought it was possible. He even felt that he had already seen the dawn of victory. Then, what's wrong with me? Hey. She-kun. When he looked at Nangxiang, who was sitting at the Rico bar and looked over, Jinmyo was stunned. Why is Toki-kun in Rico? And it happened to be when he was making plans. At this moment, the expression on her face was very wonderful. Her pink lips parted slightly, and the corners of her pretty mouth twitched slightly. But her stunned look did not reduce her cuteness. She was originally good looking, but when she made such a surprised move, she had a dumb cute feeling. Nangxiang Shi saw her expression and raised his hand to close her open mouth. Then he spoke, Miss Jinmyo, what were you talking about just now? Why? Nangxiang Shi's performance instantly cheered up Nishiki Kishu, who was still feeling guilty just now. Very good. It seems that Nangxiang didn't hear what he just said to himself. This also shows that my carefully planned tail trip plan can still be maintained. In this case, then there is still a chance. Thinking of this, the blonde girl shook her head simply and showed her usual flawless smile. I didn't say anything. Really, Shi-kun, it's just that you suddenly appeared and scared me. With a natural expression, a natural tone, a natural voice, and even his gaze, Nishiki Kishu can pat his chest and say that he has no flaws. Nangxiang Shi absolutely couldn't see his own problem. You can definitely muddle through. Under her gaze, Nangxiang Shi calmly raised his eyes and said, really? Uh-huh. Nishiki Kishu nodded her head and smiled with some confidence, really, Shi-kun, you must have heard wrong. I was just thinking about what to drink tonight. She wanted to say something more, but the next second. Then, the first step is to ask Shijun out first. Only in this way can I have a chance to make a move. Well, in short, this plan is very important and must not be known to Shijun. This sentence, and what does it mean? Well, it was like a cat being grabbed by the soft flesh on the back of its neck, or like a sien being grabbed by the tail. Just now in Nangxiang, the cute and majestic girl looked confident with her hands on her hips. At this moment, beads of sweat gradually appeared on her fair forehead. Listen, hear that? Wasn't this completely overheard by Nangxiang Shi? But, Kinzu, I don't know who said these words. Feeling extremely guilty, she turned her gaze to other places. Nishiki Kishu even whistled perfunctorily. The key was that it couldn't be whistled, there was only a shhhhhhh noise. Nangxiang Shi. If Ichiri Goto's problem is that he is too thin-skinned. So the problem with Nishiki Kishu in front of him is definitely that he is too thick-skinned. He really didn't expect that even though he had already repeated everything she just said word for word, the other party would still refuse to admit it. If it were any other girl, she would probably be embarrassed to admit it right now, right? It has to be said that Miss Nishikiki really surprised him time and time again. Nangxiang Shi couldn't help but shake his head. When he saw Nangxiang, he looked helpless, and Nishikiki Kishu, who had been secretly observing his reaction, felt happy in his heart. So what if I hear part of it? Anyway, you still don't know the most core part of my plan. Jinmyo decided that it would be better to choose a day than to hit it. Just choose to start your journey today. She was going to find out Nangxiang's home address today. As long as you have your home address, everything that happens next will be a matter of course. Thinking of this, Jinmyo showed a sly smile in a place that could not be seen in Nangxiang. She has always had a strong ability to act, and as long as she decides something, she will take action immediately. She could even see now the door to the dawn of victory. Then, Miss Nishikiki, are you trying to stalk me? Cough 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 cough. When he heard this, Nishiki Kishu couldn't hold back any longer and looked at Nangxiang with wide eyes. She really couldn't understand it at all. How on earth was he exposed? Just because I said a few words to myself just now, could Nangxiang be able to think of this aspect? No matter how much Nishiki Kishu thought about it, he would probably never think of it. Nang Xiang had already had the experience of being followed by her during his second visit. So for her unconstrained thinking, Nang Xiangxi was actually mentally prepared. Seeing Nishiki Kishu looking like she was right, Nang Xiangxi also shook his head. Am I right, Miss Nishiki? Well, Jinmyukinshu couldn't make a sound for a long time. After all, there is nothing more uncomfortable than having a plan in your head, only to have it ruthlessly broken by the other party. But my love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu De Zi Wei. Chapter 88. Jinmyukinshu's big eyes rolled slightly, and she felt much more balanced in her heart. After all, Nang Xiangxi will be her boyfriend from now on. If he can be so good, it will be better for him. So, she nodded without hesitation and put her hands on her hips again, very confidently. Yes. Shaijun, you guessed it right? I just want to follow you. And let me tell you, it's useless even if you stop me. I will definitely get all your information. Nang Xiangxi. Nan Xiangxi opened his mouth and squinted his eyes at the girl in front of him. Although it was expected. But he really didn't expect that the girl in front of him was such a social terrorist. Is it really okay for you to say I'm going to stalk you in front of the person you're stalking? Do you know that tailing is a crime? Ms. Nishikiki. Nang Xiangxi asked back. I know. Then do you know that stalking a healthy young man is something a young girl should not do? I know. Then can you please stop following me? No. Jinmyukinshu shook her head vigorously. Okay. The truth is not useful for this purpose, so there is no need to talk about it anymore. Nan Xiangxi shook his head, and then spoke, you don't actually need to follow me. If there is anything you want to know, as long as it's not particularly private, just ask me directly. Hey? Will Shikun tell me? Of course, this is more appropriate than asking a girl like you to do something as dangerous as stalking a boy at night. The security in Tokyo is indeed good. But that doesn't mean Tokyo's nights are really peaceful. Due to the large population, it is the peak time for drunkards and homeless people to come out in the evening. Nang Xiangxi's boy was okay, but for a pretty and cute girl like Nishiki Kishu, going out was indeed very risky. Nishiki Kishu, who understood what Nang Xiangxi was saying, blinked and sat down directly next to Nang Xiangxi, looking at him with a pair of big, lively, and bright eyes. Shijun. Could it be that you care about me? You can understand it that way. Nan Xiangxi nodded and replied. In my mind, his home address. It seems like only Ryo Yamada knows about it in Tokyo, right? But, to be honest, this kind of thing can only be regarded as a trivial matter. Compared to this kind of thing, there are more important things to do when you come to the Nangxiang of Riko. He extended his hand to Nishiki Kishu without hesitation. Nishiki Kishu looked at his movements and tilted his head, feeling a little strange. What? The taxi cost to take you to the hospital was 18,000 yen. Now that you're fine, you licos should pay me back the money. Why? Nishiki Kishu drawled his voice. She never expected it. When Nan Xiang stayed in Like, it was not to wait for her, nor for other things. But for his mere 18,000 yen. You must know that before this, Nang Xiangxi even gave out the kind of medicine that could heal her body without blinking an eye. Now it's actually for 18,000 yen. The contrast back and forth is too great. It was a bit difficult for Jinmyukinshu to understand. I really don't know if the man in front of me is generous or a bit stingy. Chapter 94. An omelette rice with the fragrance of a beautiful girl, 4,000 words. 18,000 yen. For like, this debt is neither big nor small. As for Nishiki Kishu, the waiter of Riko. Of course, she has not yet reached the point of embezzling public funds to repay, and of course, it is impossible not to repay. Then, 5,000 yen. Looking at the amount of money received, Nangxiang looked at Nishiki Kishu. That's all I have left. Nishiki Kishu spoke in a low voice, blinking his eyes and looking aggrieved. This woman in particular seems to use her cuteness to her advantage. When he said this, a pair of beautiful big eyes looked up, making people feel a desire to protect just by looking at him. But bring me your wallet and let me take a look. Wu dash. Listening to Nangxiangxi's ruthless words, Jinmu Kinchu opened her mouth wide and held onto her withered little wallet for a long time and refused to let go. Hurry up. Shijun, you will definitely be the kind of person who takes your wife's money to hit small steel balls with a straight face in the future. Nishiki Kishu lowered her head and handed over her wallet. The little steel ball she calls is actually a famous gambling machine in Japan, officially called pachinko. The specific process is to spend money to buy small steel balls from the boss. One steel ball is about 20 yen. As long as you can hit these steel balls into various prize pool holes, you can get more small steel balls. Go to the boss to buy steel balls. Quantity redemption. But gambling machines basically mean you lose more and win less, so gambling machines like pachinko are basically something for unemployed people and old people to play in Japan. Yes, that's right, you're right. Nangxiangxi didn't even bother to defend himself. He took her wallet and counted the numbers while continuing to speak. Miss Nishikiki, please don't fall in love with someone like me who will use my wife's money to hit small steel balls with no expression in the future. It's okay. The money I earn belongs to Shijun. Whether it's playing small steel balls or doing whatever else, I'm fine with it. Nishiki Kishu held up her face and looked at Nangxiang carefully counting the money in her wallet, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. He looks so good even when he is holding some money. He is indeed the man I like. Is it? Nangxiang glanced at her sideways. Since Miss Nishiki has said so, then just to talk to me in the future, please trouble Miss Nishiki to pay a friend fee of 2,000 yen every month. Having said this, even Nangxiangxi couldn't help but touch his chin, wondering if he had gone too far. After all, if you pay 2,000 yen in friend fees every month, even Miss Nishikiki. It's so cheap. I'll pay it. Sounds of exclamation. Snapped. Suddenly there were 2,000 yen bills in his hand. Nangxiangxi couldn't help but open his mouth and looked at Nishiki Kishu, who took back his palms with a satisfied expression. The other party was holding his chin with both hands, squinting his eyes and looking at Nangxiang with a smile. Oh, I really didn't expect Shijun to be so cheap. She sighed, and then extended her index finger and thumb to make a little bit gesture. Well, I still have a little bit of private money. I want to add more money. Can we directly change the relationship from friends to that of boyfriend and girlfriend? Then she took out her mobile phone, turned on the computer, and her green-white fingers jumped on it. Well, the friend fee for a month is 2,000 yen, so the boyfriend and girlfriend fee for a month is considered to be 12,000 yen. Do you think this is okay, Toki-kun? Nangxiangxi. Becoming boyfriend and girlfriend through financial means, don't you think this relationship is very wrong? This quirky girl in front of me really jumped out of the normal mind in every way. Nangxiangxi shook his head and continued. Besides, shouldn't most people dislike a loser husband who plays steel balls? But what greeted him was the expression of Nishiki Kishu looking at him in disbelief. What nonsense are you talking about, Mr. Shi? She looked like she couldn't believe it. How could I dislike Shijun? Nangxiangxi. Besides, Shijun may not understand that even if the relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend is through money, it is still a real relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. Nishiki Kishu looked at Nangxiang incomprehensively. For me, this is the first step that must be promoted first. I don't care whether it is twisted or not, whether it is right or not. Yes. Strike first to gain the upper hand. In short, it's about seizing the opportunity. Who cares whether the relationship is normal or not, twisted or not? Anyway, she wants Nang Xiangxi to be her boyfriend. As long as this goal can be achieved, she can use any means. So Shijun, what do you think? Let's upgrade the service a little bit. Nishiki Kisha rubbed her little hands excitedly. No. Nan Xiangxi refused expressionlessly. Why? Nishiki Kisha made a dissatisfied voice. Are you really not going to think about it? We can still talk about the price. It's not like I'm buying food at the wet market. Should I discuss the price with you? Nang Xiangxi shook his head speechlessly. As for Nishiki Kisha's terrifying execution and mobility, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but take a data detector at the other party. Name, Nishiki Kishu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 89. Appearance, 8, Sports, 8, Academic Ability, 6, Specialties, Optimism LV5, Reaction LV5, Action LV5, Execution LV5, Social LV4, Cooking LV1. My current impression of the host, it's you, my love is revealed, and I admire you sincerely. System evaluation, she has been completely captured by you. Your every move, word, and deed has deeply attracted her. As long as you are willing to respond, she, who is optimistic and cheerful by nature, will definitely respond with enthusiasm several times stronger than yours. She may not be the only one in your eyes, but in her eyes, you are everything to her. Nang Xiangxi glanced at the data panel. Then he couldn't help but glance at Nishiki Kishu, who was staring at his face openly. LV5's ability to act and execute. Social networking in LV4? What kind of social monster is this? And this execution and action ability are too top-notch, right? It's simply that as long as you think of it, the other party will do it without hesitation. No wonder Nishiki Kisha didn't hesitate at all when he swallowed the universal healing medicine. Nang Xiangxi sighed. Should she be said to be the strongest licorice in the original licorice plot? And even if it is natural, in a sense, this kind of mobility is inferior to even Nang Xiangxi. It's just that this mobility is obviously used in the wrong place now. Feeling the touch of Nishiki Kisha curiously touching her white palm on her chest, Nang Xiang frowned and glanced at her. What are you doing? Hey? I just want to see if Shijun has muscles, or something like that. Nishiki Kishu, who was caught on the spot by Nang Xiangxi, was not ashamed at all. He didn't even blush. He stretched out his hand to pull Nang Xiangxi's shirt and peeked inside. Nang Xiangxi grabbed her hand and stopped her from continuing to act recklessly. At the same time, he simply returned the shriveled and pitiful little wallet to Nishiki Kishu. The 2,000 yen you just gave me will be regarded as repayment. In addition to the initial 5,000 yen, Ms. Nishikiki, you still owe me 11,000 yen. Huh? Isn't it a friend fee? Nishiki Kishu spoke incomprehensively. I'm not at the point where I charge a fee to be friends with other people. Nang Xiangxi patted Nishiki Kishu's head hard. If Ms. Yamato were here, she would probably accept the 2,000 yen as a friend's fee without hesitation. But Nang Xiangxi was not that kind of person. Besides, 2,000 yen, I'm not that cheap. That's true. Jinmu Kinshu nodded thoughtfully. If only 2,000 yen could buy Nang Xiang time, she would empty out her own coffers and buy a litter of Nang Xiangs to take home. Since Miss Nishiki seems to be fine, there is no reason for me to stay here anymore. Nang Xiangxi glanced at the empty Rico cafe, and after thinking for a moment, he still said to Nishiki Kishu. Miss Inu and Miss Kurumi have gone out to purchase goods, leaving Miss Nakahara in the store for the time being, but when I came here just now, I happened to see her looking for sobering potion, and I don't know where she is now. For now, You are the only one in Likali. When it comes to this, Nang Xiangxi couldn't help but glance at Jin Muqianchu. Is it okay? You must know that it is a rest day now, and rest days have always been the main business in the catering industry. Although Rico Rico is not big, it is still a whole cafe with all the necessary features. There is only one waiter, Nishiki Kishu. Is this really okay? Ah, it's okay, I'm used to it. Listening to Nan Xiangxi's words, Nishiki Kishu laughed twice. Obviously he was already used to this kind of situation. She walked behind the bar and put on a white apron. You must have seen it, Toki-kun. Even if it's a day off, there aren't many guests at Rico Rico. I can't even do it by myself. That's true. Nan Xiang glanced sideways. Even if it was a day off, the entire Likali was deserted. Even if there were customers who came to the door, they would only order a cup of coffee and not ask for anything else. This business situation. Although I have already experienced it in simulation. But seeing it in reality still made Nang Xiangxi frown. Since Toki-kun is an all-knowing spiritual medium, he should also know why this like exists. While wiping dishes behind the bar, Nishiki Kishu spoke. It's pretty clear. Nang Xiang nodded. The reason why the Rico Rico Cafe exists is because Mika, the orphanage director, wants to create revenue for his orphanage through Rico Rico and support the orphanage's continued operation through the coffee shop. Although teacher Mika is already a 48-year-old man, he is still very gentle. When it comes to this relatively heavy topic, although Nishiki Kishu wants to be more lively, there is still a hint of heaviness in his words unconsciously. And the coffee he brews is really delicious. There is absolutely no problem opening a shop with it. How should I put it? Nishiki Kishu placed the wiped plate next to the sink and sighed. Our cooking skills can't keep up with teacher Mika. She made a sigh-like sound, but Nang Xiangxi didn't comment too much on it. Because just like Nishiki Kishu said, in the simulation, Nang Xiangxi had actually seen the skill of Mika, the store manager of Like, in making coffee. The other person's skills as a barista are absolutely professional. There are very few regular customers of Like, and they are basically attracted by his coffee craftsmanship. On the other hand, there are thousands of brocade trees. Probably all the talents are added to reaction, action, and execution. Her cooking skills are only at the level of LV1. It's just a cooking level that allows you to make home-cooked meals or put on a buffy look. It feels more like we have dragged down Mr. Mika. What do you think? Toki-kun. Nishiki Kishu asked with her face lying on the bar, looking a little listless. No matter who it was, when they saw the normally so happy angel showing such an expression, they would probably come forward to comfort him. Then. I think you're right. Your cooking skills are terrible. Nishiki Kishu, who originally thought she would be comforted, unexpectedly received such ruthless complaints from Nan Xiang. She couldn't help but open her mouth, and then an angry expression appeared on her face. You usually comfort people at times like this, right? Toki-kun. She tried to argue. But even if I comfort you, it won't make your cooking better, so it doesn't make much sense. Okay. In this case, let Shijun come and taste my craftsmanship for yourself. Wait a moment. Nang Xiangxi was about to say no, but when he saw the beautiful back of the blonde girl swaying her hair and quickly leaving the bar and running to the kitchen, she swallowed the words that came to her lips. But let's be honest. Level of LV1 cooking skills. Nango Toki really didn't have any expectations for Nishiki Kishu to be able to cook any delicious dishes. And the result was just as Nang Xiang expected. Nishiki Kishu was sweating profusely and came back with a dinner plate and a silver spoon. Toki-kun, please use it. Nishiki Kishu's special beautiful girl omelette rice. Standing behind the bar with her hands on her hips, she looked very confident. As for Nang Xiang time. He just lowered his head, glanced at the state of the omelette rice served in front of him, and then fell silent. Whether it tastes good or not, he hasn't tasted it yet, so he doesn't know yet. But this omelette rice is definitely full of the beautiful girl element. In his field of vision, the prompt of the love simulator popped up. 1.1 points a plate of omuris with the fragrance of a beautiful girl's sweat. Although it may not be that delicious, the sweat in it may be a bonus for some people with unusual interests. Eat. Still not eating. This is a problem. Chapter 95. Cuisine that purifies both body and mind, 4,300 words. Eat. Still not eating? This is a problem. Ever since Nangxiang had the LV4 cooking skill and could see the state of food, he had often faced this choice. And the omelette rice in front of me is undoubtedly another choice. 1.1 points a plate of omuris with the fragrance of a beautiful girl's sweat. Although it may not be that delicious, the sweat in it may be a bonus for some people with unusual interests. Let's not talk about the low rating of 1.1 points. Just the comment about beautiful girl's fragrant sweat can already make Nangxiang lose his appetite. Because no matter what it is, sweat is sweat, but the sweat shed on beautiful girls is different from ordinary people. It's just nonsense. I didn't have that special hobby when I was in Nangxiang. The food is rated 1.1. To be honest, Nangxiang is acceptable. After all, the family meals made by ordinary people usually start at 1 point, and only break through 2 points if they are extremely high. At most, they will have problems such as too much salt or odor, and they will not kill people at all. As for a few minutes, my love simulation with them. Author, Chiu Dao Yu de Ziwei. Chapter 90. It's the kind of rating that's fed to dogs, and the dogs probably won't want to take a look at it. Nangxiang looked at the omelette rice in front of him in silence. Nishiki Kishu next to her was also a little strange. What's wrong? Eat, why don't you eat? She held up her face and continued to speak. Shijun, I remember that you haven't eaten since morning, right? Are you still not hungry yet? Nangxiang. He looked at Nishiki Kishu and then at the omelette rice placed in front of him. Nangxiang naturally pushed the dinner plate aside with his hands and said, Can I come into your kitchen? Why? Nishiki Kishu made a dissatisfied sound, and then said, It will definitely not work if it is anyone else, but if it is Toki-kun, She hesitated for a while, then finally nodded, made a silence gesture and spoke to Nangxiang in a low voice. I can let you in, but Shijun has to promise me not to tell anyone else. After all, people other than employees enter the kitchen. Nishiki Kishu made an action that might get him scolded. Then she opened the barrier of the bar and let Nangxiang in. At the same time, she was a little curious. But, speaking of which, why does Shijun suddenly want to join the cook of Rico Rico? It's nothing, I'm just curious, and I'm actually a little hungry. I want to make something to eat, is that okay? Nangxiang still saved some respect for Miss Jinmu, and his words were very reserved. Shijun wants to cook in person. Nishiki Chisuk's beautiful eyes looked over with confusion, but haven't I already prepared an omelette rice? Then she patted her chest confidently. I'm not bragging. Although my cooking skills are not as good as Mr. Mika's coffee skills, they are only slightly inferior. She tilted her head and her tone was so confident that no one could ignore it. Even if it is placed in like, my cooking skills are definitely second to none. Nangxiang. He recalled the 1.1 point cooking rating he saw and Miss Nishiki's LV1 cooking skills. Nangxiang really didn't know why this blonde girl could be so confident. Even if you give 1% of your confidence to go to Ichiri, she probably won't be afraid of society, right? And the cooking level of 1.1 points is second to none? Is your one finger level a bit too low? And it's true that none of you Rico can cook, right? At this moment Nang Xiangxi probably understood. Why is it that on holidays like this, Rico's store is still deserted? It turns out that except for the store manager Mika, who is really working hard, all four of them, including Nishiki Kishu, are war criminals. Wrong. It is estimated that Inu Takina is still serious. In the simulation, the Rico account book she was responsible for never made any mistakes. But now is not the time to think about this. Nang Xiangxi shook his head. Leave all these cluttered thoughts behind. Walking into the kitchen of Like with ease. The decoration and kitchenware inside are basically the same as in the simulation. When I was in Nangxiang, I just glanced at it and knew where everything was. Next to him, Chisuk Nishikiki couldn't help but tilted his head when he saw that he was very familiar with everything in Rico. Really? Her previous intuition should be right. Maybe I really met Shijun somewhere, sometimes. While she was thinking, Nan Xiangxi, who was standing in front of the stove, had already taken the initiative to speak. Can I use the materials here? Ah, okay. Jinmu Qinshu decisively agreed. Huh? Is it okay? Nang Xiangxi, who originally thought he would have to go through a specific process, couldn't help but glance sideways at Nishiki Kishu. After all, he is considered as an outsider appropriating the ingredients in the store without permission. Ahem. Although I'm sorry, the only reason customers come here is to drink coffee. Speaking of this topic, Nishiki Kishu felt a little embarrassed. Because few people want to cook, there are a lot of leftover ingredients we bought. If we can't sell them, we will probably have to digest them ourselves in the end. I see. After hearing this, Nangxiang was speechless for a while. If the food cannot be sold, it can only be piled in the refrigerator. When it is no longer fresh, you can only eat it at your own events. No wonder Nishiki Kishu took him into the kitchen so casually. What, I took you into the kitchen, Toki-kun? What's your expression like that? Sensing Nang Xiangxi's gaze, Nishiki Kishu, who had always been optimistic, felt dissatisfied. Because she always felt that she was a catering waiter after all, but her cooking skills were underestimated by Nang Xiangxi. This is simply an insult to all restaurant people. So she couldn't help but murmured in a low voice. And Shijun is confident that the food he can make is more delicious than my omelette rice. Anyway, I have been following the video for more than a month. Nangxiang ignored her and just took out the ingredients and vegetables he needed from the refrigerator. At the same time, wash and peel the vegetables and start cooking. Really, my omelette rice is definitely more delicious, Shi-kun, you really should give it a try. Next to him, Nishiki Kishu was still mumbling words. Although she was still mumbling, her eyes couldn't stop looking at the pot and Nan Xiangxi's techniques. Looking at. She found that she seemed to be gradually unable to move her eyes away. Akasaka Kazuya thinks that he is a very failed office worker. Not only in the workplace, but also in life. Why do you have to be bossed around by your boss, work overtime every day, and are often poked in the back by your colleagues and laughed at? These things have become commonplace in his daily life. In life, my wife always complains that she works overtime and can't even spare time to spend time with her son. In this regard, he felt helpless and apologetic, and also felt depressed about his messy life with almost no end in sight. Sorry, that's very rude. Then the cooperation is settled. With a smile on his face, Akasaka Kazuya walked out of the customer's grocery store, dragging his tired body that had to work overtime on holidays, and stood on the street in a daze. When I look at the noisy Tokyo and the students walking on the road with smiles on their faces. He remembered that a long time ago, when he was still a student, he always had a smile on his face. At that time, he felt that he had unlimited possibilities. But now he is lost in the streets of Tokyo, dragging his heavy steps. Why is your life like this? Akasaka Kazuya walked aimlessly on the street. He had to quarrel with his wife again when he got home, and he didn't want to go back at all. But walking on the street, I couldn't find my target. Tokyo is big, yet small. Akasaka Kazuya just walked forward aimlessly. I didn't stop until I felt hungry and exhausted. At least I can still feel hungry. Akasaka Kazuya laughed at himself. Over the years, he has always felt that he was so numb that he looked like a robot. But in Tokyo, people like him have always been the majority. He stopped and looked around, trying to find a restaurant to satisfy his hunger problem. It was at this time. A burst of fragrant fragrance came, lingering and entwining his footsteps. That is. He turned around and discovered that not far from him, there was a small and exquisitely decorated coffee shop. Although it was not a familiar shop, Akasaka Kazuya, who was entangled by the scent, walked forward, hesitated for a while, and pushed the door open. "Welcome, guest. Please come this way." Looking at the young and beautiful blonde girl who came forward to greet him, Akasaka Kazuya was stunned for a moment. This was a little different from what he imagined in a coffee house. But now that he had come in, he did not flinch. He just said softly, "Excuse me," and followed the blonde girl to his seat and sat down. "A hot towel, please." Trouble. Although it can be said that he is a complete failure in life and career, Akasaka Kazuya can be regarded as a standard social person. Even when he was dealing with Nishiki Kishu in front of him, he was considered very well-mannered and very polite. However, compared to Akasaka Kazuya's politeness and restraint, the mood of Nishiki Kishu in front of him was completely different. Because Akasaka Kazuya in front of them is not a regular customer of their store. If they can keep him this time, the deserted Riko might be able to add another customer who is willing to come here every day and contribute to the performance. She exerted all her strength and showed a 100% energetic smile. What would the guest like to eat? Akasaka Kazuya glanced at the wooden sign hanging above the bar. He didn't see what he wanted to eat before he asked. "I don't know what the chef is doing. Just give me the same one. As for the others, I want 2 more side dishes. I'll ask the chef in the kitchen to make a decision." Akasaka Kazuya thought that his words were a reasonable request no matter which restaurant he was in. But what he didn't expect was that as soon as he finished speaking, the blonde girl in front of him had a troubled look on his face. Mainly because Nishiki Kishu didn't expect it either. This brand new face who finally came to the door actually asked for the dishes prepared by Nan Xiang.